Hey everybody, today I want to talk about planning your business analyst career. This is something that a lot of people write to me about. There's a whole lot of interest in this, so I wanted to spend a little time talking about how you can do this. What are some things to think about? A lot of people ask me, is business analyst a good career? Well, this is basically impossible for me to answer because it really depends on your career goals. What do you want? So what I've put together in this lesson is some possible career paths. And then I want to talk about too whether working as a business analyst will help you achieve those kinds of results that you're looking for. I'm going to look at this from a couple of different perspectives, and one is looking at the possibility for executive careers, and the other is to look at possibilities for people who are not interested in executive careers. These are two very, very different things, and so I'm going to talk about them separately. For most people, their careers are not going to be moving up into executive ranks. I mean, we can see it's completely impossible. You have so many people at the bottom, all of them are not going to end up executives. So most people are going to spend their careers as what we might call a line worker or a manager, the people doing the work. So now think of your career. I mean, we tend to think of careers as always moving up, but you can see that doesn't really work. So think about sometimes making sideways moves as a way to get more knowledge and experience. Instead of thinking of advancement, think about what interests you. What do you personally want to do? Some people totally love what they do, and they're happy to keep doing it their whole career. I knew an engineer at Lockheed who retired after 35 years of working on software for guided missiles. 35 years, that's all he did. One kind of software for one product. He did it for 35 years. He loved doing it. Okay, some people, that's what they want to do. Perfect. Think about it. Is that you? As I go through this list, keep thinking about, is this me? Does this sound like me? Some people like variety. I know an accountant who moved sideways into software project management. She moved up in the accounting ranks and then went over to become a project manager in software because she likes variety. An engineer I know, it was another woman in this case, moved sideways from software engineering into product marketing. And another engineer I know, this time a man, went into technical writing. Okay, so some people, like to change things throughout their career. They become more and more senior in their career, and they say, you know what, I like this other thing, and they do a sideways move. What do I mean by sideways? It means you're not getting a promotion. You're at the same, level of seniority in the company, or maybe even go down a little bit in seniority, but you're doing it in a new career track. Okay, so moving from accounting into software project management, moving from software development into marketing, moving from software development into technical writing. Okay, these are sideways moves. Some people like that. Some people really want to be managers and others don't. If you do not want to be a project manager, there is nothing wrong with that, or any kind of manager. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be a manager. You want to be aware of something called the Peter Principle. And that says that people are promoted to their level of incompetence. Don't let this happen to you. If someone offers you a promotion, let's say to a management position, and you don't want it and you don't think you're going to be any good at it, say no. Because you don't want to get yourself into a job that you're bad at. It's no fun. What good is that for you or anybody else if you're bad at the job, if you're not interested in the job? So, watch for that. Do you want to be a manager? You don't have to be a manager. Okay? So don't assume that you're going to progress up through a senior BA and your next career step has to be management. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Think about you. Think about what's important to you personally. Think about what you like. Some people want to work in the same place with the same people their whole careers. I have a very good friend. She tried, I do contract work, and she thought, well, that sounds interesting, and she came out with me to do contract work, and she hated it. She hated going different places all the time. She wanted to go to the same building, the same location, the same people every day. That was important to her. Now, did she progress in her career? Yes, she did. But she wanted to be at the same company. Then there's me. I'm a consultant and a contractor because I like that variety. I like to go to new places. I like to meet new people. I like to get new experiences all the time. All of these things here, none of them are right or wrong. It's what you want to do. What's important to you personally. Not what's important to your best friend, not does what somebody else think you should be doing. What's important to you. Think about these things. What's important to you? And use this to help manage your career. So how long should you spend in a job? Now, I'm going to suggest at least 3 years as an average number. You know, it really isn't that much time. 3 years out of your entire life is really not that much time. And what it's going to do is give you enough time to get some competence in the job and find out if you like it or not. The other thing that 3 years gives you is it shows you've made some commitment to the work. You know, you're not just jumping from one thing to another. Now, I have to say that this number of 3 years can vary a lot in terms of people's perceptions. So when I was living in Silicon Valley, people thought that 3 years in one job was a long time. And this was during the dot-com boom, and people were changing jobs like every year. That's a little bit unusual. I think even today people are staying in jobs longer in Silicon Valley. But out there in California, the amount of time people spend in jobs is shorter than if you go to the northeast of the United States. So if you go to New York, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., they think if you've spent only 3 years in a job and then changed to another job, that you're not very responsible. You should spend more time in one job. So then what, though? Let's say you spent 3, maybe 5 years as a business analyst. So what do you do now? Well, you might say, you know, I'm really interested in technology. I love the technical stuff. I want to be a system analyst. And the systems analyst is someone who's really looking at the software, the code, the computers, and analyzing information at that level rather than analyzing information at a business level. So maybe you want to do that. Maybe you want to specialize in a technology like SAP or SaaS, which is software as a service. Or maybe you want to specialize in tools of various kinds. You could do that with your BA skills. Another person might say, what really has interested me over the years, this whole human factors thing, user interfaces, how people interact with a computer. I love that stuff. That is so great. And so they decide to go and be user interface designers. You know, use the skills you already know as a BA, get some additional training in design, in human factors, and move in that direction. Maybe you're really interested in business, corporations, how to run it, like I was talking about with executives, and so you decide to move into marketing or sales positions to get more understanding of how to run a business, because that fascinates you. Maybe you really love what you've been doing. You love being a business analyst on IT software teams, and you just want to spend more years in this job, getting more experience, getting more training in this role on a wide variety of projects at your company. Great. Maybe you decide you want to focus more on business processes and not software development. It's another direction you could go. You could say, well, you know, I'm interested in business, but not in terms of running the company, but I'm interested in all the business processes and how we actually implement the business of the company. How do we do that? And I'm not really interested in software development. I really don't want to do that. Okay, so you've decided that you're going to move more in a direction of being a business analyst, okay, working on, you know, defining business processes for the company. You might get really interested in security. You know, maybe you've come across some stuff about security, and boy, you're just fascinated by that, and on information security, enterprise security, you know, all this stuff about spam prevention and preventing hackers and all that. That really fascinates you, and you want to do that. You know, all of these kinds of things I'm talking about are very obvious ways you can go from being a business analyst, because they're going to use a lot of the same skill set. A lot of the things you learned being as a BA, you're going to use in the same skills in these jobs. And this last one here, maybe you get really interested in how software is developed. I mean, you've been working with development teams, you've watched them go through processes of software development, and you might decide that that's what really interests you and that you want to become an expert in software processes, software development processes. Okay, so all of these things can use your BA skills and either stay as a BA or go into other directions. Again, use this just to stimulate your thoughts, your creativity, and say, what did I just say here that appeals to you? What sounds interesting? Okay, let's say you're a senior BA. You've stayed in a business analyst role and you've become very senior in your company, and now what? Well, think of yourself as a leader in your company. You are. And so as a leader, you have choices. You could become a BA lead or manager, where you're leading a group or department of BAs. Now, this is a kind of management position, which you may or may not want to do. You might form a Business Analyst Center of Excellence, which is a part of the company where you're going to train and mentor other BAs. That could be fun. You could be a project manager. You might decide that you want to move into project management, and you could manage projects in IT or maybe even in other departments. You might use this as a way to move into software development, for example, and manage projects there. You could be a consultant, either inside your company or outside the company. You could leave and go to another company that places you as a consultant in different organizations where you provide your experience and expertise to help other people improve their work. You could become a career counselor. You could counsel other people in their business analyst careers. You know, taking information like I've put together here, this is really an introduction, but some people really specialize in this, where their specialty is to say, you know, I know a lot about being a business analyst. I'm going to help other people become business analysts and help other people have business analyst careers. You could become a business analyst for programs or product lines, and this is where you'd be in charge of a team of BAs, and your job would be to oversee all the requirements over a whole set of projects for a period of many years. A very high-level strategic kind of position. You could become an enterprise analyst and work on projects as big as the whole enterprise. You could, again, be very strategic, where you're looking over huge amounts of the company and working out processes and procedures. If what you love is being a business analyst, if you really like the job, then keep doing it. There's nothing wrong with that. And know that as a senior business analyst, you're going to usually have your choice of the most interesting projects, and you're also going to probably be asked to work on the most difficult projects in the company because you have the experience, you have the expertise. So I'm going to conclude here and just say that, you know, I think that being a business analyst can be a wonderful career. I think you have a lot of interesting choices and opportunities, and that, you know, you just need to think about what appeals to you personally. What direction do you want to go? If your goal is executive management, then being a business analyst is not a direct path, but you can use those skills that you learn as a business analyst to move out of IT into another department that will lead you to executive management, such as sales, marketing, or finance. If your goal is not executive management, there are many options for a BA career, and you need to figure out where your interests lie. And you know what? You don't have to figure it out today. You can just take the next step today. If what I just presented to you sounds interesting, then go ahead and be a BA, because it will lead you to these other things. It can, you know, you might, like I said, decide to stay a BA. You might go into security. You might go into human factors. Okay, so you know from looking over this that those are possible career paths. Then go ahead. Start off as a BA, see if you like it or not, and figure out the rest as you go along. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you very much for listening.